Hey guys, in today's episode we will be demystifying the whole issue regarding proteins and also looking at what are some really good plant-based sources of making sure you get enough protein. If you're new around here, my name is Rukmini. I'm a health and wellness coach and the founder of urbanyogi.ug. So this is one of the biggest questions I often get whenever I'm coaching clients on moving into a plant-based diet, or when I share with people that I am a vegan. They always ask me, where do I get my protein from? Now, over the past 4 years that I have been coaching clients, I have honestly never come across anybody who has had a protein deficiency. Contrary to that, I've come across many people who've had protein excesses, and that has caused a lot of damage in their health. Now, that's not to say that protein deficiency is not a possibility. Yes, it does exist, but it's not as common as having a protein excess. In some of the forums online, if you go around, especially where there's hardcore vegans, and you ask this question of where do you get your protein, you can see some really funny statements such as, oh, the same place where cows and elephants get it. Now, although that's true, in today's episode, I want to try to be a little more scientific and look at the facts and see exactly where we get it from. So we're going to be covering 3 major things in today's video. The very first thing we're going to be looking at is what is the role that protein plays in our body, and we're also going to be looking at what could be some of the reasons why you might end up with a deficiency. Then the second thing we're going to be looking at is if you have less protein, what is the impact on your health? At the same time, we need to look at the other side, which is if you have too much protein, what could that lead to? And then the third thing we're going to look at is what are the vegan food-based sources of getting enough protein. So proteins is one of the macronutrients that we have in our diet, and of course it's undebatable that it plays such an important role in our health and well-being. So having a deficiency is really not a good idea. So first, let's look at what is the role that it has. The very first thing is that it's responsible for some of our structure, especially when you think about our muscles, hair, skin. All of these things are formed with the various proteins that we have in our body. The second thing is that it's also responsible for the balance of hormones and the production of some of the hormones in the body. The third role that it plays is also in terms of growth and repair. Assume you've had an injury, you've had a cut, or you've had something even more severe than that. Protein is what comes and leads to the production of collagen and repair. So it's again very important there. And the fourth way that protein plays a role is in making sure that the blood pH is balanced. So the acid-alkaline balance in our body, which is very vital to our existence, is really managed by the balance of protein in our body. So now let's look at what are some reasons why you could end up with a deficiency. The very first reason is that if you've been on an extended period of fasting where you haven't been really getting the amount of protein that you need to be having through a diet, then there is a risk of you actually having a deficiency. The second reason is that if you have been in a serious accident or an injury like a surgery or something like that, and your body has had to use all the proteins for growth and repair, that could also lead to a deficiency. And the third reason you could have a deficiency is if your digestive system is not able to absorb the protein that you are consuming through your diet, that could lead to it. Now let's look at what are some of the dangers of not having enough protein in our diet. The very first thing is that you will start to notice that you have very low energy, and this could be a sign of not having enough protein. Or you could be suffering from depression. Again, that's another thing, that's another reason you might want to look at how much protein you're having. You could also end up with like hair thinning or weak or brittle nails. These are all some of the symptoms of not having enough protein. One of the most important impact that it can have is that it can reduce your ability to repair, especially when you end up in an injury. Or you can also have poor immune function. So this is one of the reasons why you really want to make sure that you have a good amount of protein coming in through your diet. So there are also a lot of dangers of having excessive protein, which I said is more common than actually having a deficiency. So some of the dangers is that you might have decreased appetite, dehydration, constipation, a higher risk for kidney stones, as well as even a higher risk for heart disease. Okay, now that we've already looked at the role that protein plays, what could cause a deficiency, as well as the dangers of having either an excess or too little of the protein, let's look at where exactly in food can we find the proteins. Now, proteins are not just found in the fish, meat that we usually associate it with, or the milk. Protein is pretty much found in all the foods that we eat. The only exceptions could probably be foods that are heavily processed, alcohols, or even some oils. Now, the 5 main categories of places where you can find heavy amounts of protein even on a plant-based diet are these. Number 1 is lentils. So this includes things like the dals that we eat, tur dal, garbanzo bean dal. All these dals have a lot of protein in them. The second place is the beans that we consume. So these are things like pinto beans, white beans, kidney beans. All of these also have good amounts of protein. The third place is the nuts and seeds. So when you think about almonds, walnuts, cashews, sesame seeds, again, fantastic sources of protein. The fourth place is in the different types of grains that we can consume. So if you're eating brown rice, quinoa, amaranth, millet, you've got your proteins covered. And finally, you can get proteins even through all the varieties of vegetables that you eat. So whether you're talking about broccoli, snow peas, cabbages, all of these have a certain amount of protein in them. So I hope this has been able to shed some light on where you can get protein in a plant-based diet. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to keep receiving more recipes, tips, and that sort of thing, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends and family so they can also start to live a healthier life. Wishing you all the best.